My name is Caleb Thornton, and for 6 quiet months, all I wanted was peace. 8 acres of old farmland, oak trees older than most buildings in town, and the kind of silence that heals the mind. It was the land my grandfather left me, land he protected all his life. But peace ends quietly. Mine ended the morning I saw a red stake driven deep into my soil, in a place it had no business being. I didn't remember it yesterday, and when I followed the fence line, I saw 2 more. Someone was marking my land. A sound rolled up my driveway, the whine of an electric golf cart. Riding, it was the woman I'd only heard rumors about, Diane Ashford, president of the Meadowbrook Estates HOA. A pastel vest, a frozen smile, and the walk of someone who believed the world bent around her. Before I could say a word, she stepped onto my land and announced, as calmly as if she were reading a weather report, that my property line ended at her swimming pool. Her swimming pool, which I'd never seen in my life. She handed me a polished document titled HOA Boundary Notification. Inside, it claimed I couldn't touch, move, or repair anything near the boundary for 30 days while their surveyor updated the maps. And just like that, she drove off, leaving me holding a piece of paper that told me what I couldn't do on land I'd inherited before she even moved to town. I spent the entire afternoon digging through my grandfather's old documents, birth certificates, faded tax receipts, a lifetime of memories. At the bottom of the box was a brittle letter dated 1987 from a lawyer warning my grandfather about a potential boundary dispute with the very same neighborhood. One line was underlined in blue ink. They will try to take what they think you won't defend. I didn't fully understand it then. I understood it completely soon after. The next morning, a brand new yellow chain stretched across my land, linking those red stakes together. Bright, shiny, deliberate. A message. And then came the email. A beautifully formatted message from the HOA, stating that the chain was HOA property and that I was legally forbidden from tampering with or removing association equipment. The chain was theirs, but the land under it, apparently, it suddenly wasn't mine. Something snapped inside me, because in that moment, I realized this wasn't confusion. This wasn't a simple mistake. This was strategy. And if Diane truly believed my property ended at her pool, then I needed proof. Real proof. I went through the original 1965 deed again, tracing the written boundary description with my finger, and stopped cold. According to the deed, the western line of my property extended 65 meters farther than the line Diane was trying to force on me. And suddenly everything made sense. Her garage, her flower beds, and even a corner of her swimming pool were built, not on her property, but on mine. I drove to talk to Virgil Hartley, my grandfather's oldest friend. He listened to the whole story without blinking and then told me something that explained everything. Diane had done this twice before. One family moved away. Another tried to fight, spent thousands on lawyers, and ended up giving up. She had a system, pressure, confusion, fake authority, and enough legal threats to make normal people back down. Virgil reached into his pocket and handed me a card. Fletcher Boone, licensed land surveyor. Hire him, he said. He's the only one Diane can't buy. But before Fletcher arrived, another surveyor showed up. A young man with a cheap measuring wheel and a tape measure from the hardware store. He said his name was Trent, hired by the HOA to verify the boundary. He never once looked at a real map. He only checked a clipboard with numbers already written on it. Something felt wrong. When he left, I looked up the company, Meadowbrook Land Services. It had been incorporated 3 weeks ago. The listed business address belonged to Diane Ashford. Then an anonymous email hit my inbox. I thought you should know, it said. The surveyor is her son-in-law. Be careful. She has expensive lawyers and cheap ethics. Attached was a family photo, Diane smiling, Trent's arm around her daughter. That was enough. I called Fletcher. He said he'd be there in 2 days. Fletcher arrived silently at dawn, carrying equipment that looked like it belonged to NASA. GPS receivers, laser levels, metal detectors. He didn't waste time. He started at the original witness tree mentioned in the 1887 deed, a huge oak near the northern corner. Beneath the leaves, he found it, a stone boundary marker carved with initials and the date 1887. exactly where the deed said it would be. He worked all morning. Flag after flag marked the true line. And when he finished, even I was shocked. The real boundary cut 45 meters in a Meadowbrook Estates. Diane's garage sat on my land. Her flower beds sat on my land. Her swimming pool, the one she claimed justified pushing my boundary, was partly on mine too. Fletcher printed a preliminary report and said 5 words Diane never expected me to hear. You're the legal owner, clearly. I invited the county survey office to witness the official survey. If Diane wanted to fight, I wanted the truth recorded. The county official arrived first, calm and professional. Diane arrived second, in her golf cart, with Trent beside her, holding a camera like we were shooting a crime documentary. Her smile was tight, her voice sugary. She spoke to the county official like they were longtime colleagues. She claimed they were only here to ensure accuracy, that the HOA had already completed a professional internal survey. Trent handed over a document from 1952. The county official looked at it for 10 seconds and pointed at the notary's seal. It was photocopied, not embossed. Fake. That was when Diane cracked. She raised her voice and accused me of trying to steal her property, claiming I was fabricating boundaries to sabotage her home value. But then I showed the county official the anonymous email, the one where Diane had written, "If he discovers the garage issue, I'll lose $100,000. Get Trent to adjust the boundaries." Silence fell over the entire fence line. The county official closed her tablet and announced a 60-day freeze on all activity. A formal county ruling was coming. Diane stormed off without a word. 2 weeks later, a man in a suit handed me an envelope. Ashford versus Thornton. Diane was suing me for trespass, harassment, defamation, and requesting a 100-foot restraining order. She wanted $250,000. This wasn't about winning legally. This was about crushing me financially. But what she didn't know was that I had something stronger than money. Evidence. I hired one of the best property rights attorneys in the county. When she saw the fake survey, the original markers, and Diane's email, she smiled. "This," she said, "is a slap suit, and we're going to bury her in discovery." Discovery forced the HOA to turn over internal emails. Among them was the smoking gun. Diane had known since 2021 that her structures were on my property. Her attorney had told her to establish a conflicting boundary before the neighbor investigates. They had tried to create a fake boundary, intentionally. A local newspaper leaked the story. HOA president accused of systematic land fraud. Her reputation shattered overnight. The HOA held an emergency vote. 12 of 18 members demanded her resignation. But it wasn't over. Not yet. The courtroom was packed the day of the hearing. Neighbors, reporters, curious locals. Everyone wanted to see the downfall of the HOA tyrant who'd ruled their neighborhood for years. Diane's lawyer tried to argue that her long-term use of the structures made them legitimate. He called my survey just one interpretation. My attorney stood, opened her laptop, and projected the 1887 deed over a satellite map. The stone markers matched the coordinates perfectly down to the centimeter. Then she projected Diane's email, admitting she'd known the truth. The judge read it twice. Diane took the stand and claimed everything was taken out of context. But when the anonymous HOA member testified, detailing how Diane bullied homeowners, faked violations, and forced people to comply, the judge leaned back, folded her hands, and made her ruling. It was swift, it was final, and it was devastating. The true boundary was exactly where Fletcher marked it. Diane had built structures on my land. Diane had lied to the county. Diane had falsified documents. She was ordered to remove her garage and pool within 90 days, pay $45,000 in my legal and survey fees, cease all HOA interference, and her emails were forwarded to the prosecutor for criminal review. She left the courtroom like a ghost. The demolition began on a freezing November morning. I didn't watch, but I heard everything. The saws, the hammers, the crash of structure built on a lie finally coming down. Her property was sold within a month. The HOA stripped of enforcement power. Residents finally spoke up, sharing stories of her bullying and intimidation. And in December, the county prosecutor filed charges. Property fraud, forgery, perjury. Diane took a plea deal, probation, fines, and a lifetime ban from serving on any HOA board. Her reign was over. Spring came slowly. Grass grew over the spot where the garage once stood. I rebuilt the fence using oak from fallen trees on my land, the same kind my grandfather used decades ago. On the gate, I hung a small wooden sign. Established 1887, restored 2024. Not as a victory, not as revenge, but as truth. A truth Diane tried to rewrite. A truth anchored in stone markers older than her neighborhood. A truth my grandfather preserved and that I defended. Because some boundaries aren't lines. They're promises, passed from one generation to the next. And sometimes defending them isn't about fighting for land. It's about fighting for the truth.